Oh yeah, welcome to the Intuitive Empire. I'm your host, Jaya Rose, and we can finally get started because you are here. And if you are ready to energetically align with your desires, own your innate magic, and step powerfully into your spiritual leadership, well, love, you're in the right place. Let's do the damn thing already. Welcome back to the Intuitive Empire podcast. I'm so excited you're here and that we have a guest today, a super special guest, Miss Tiffany Carter. And Tiffany, I had the privilege of meeting at the Harmonious Hustle event. She spoke on stage and she has such a powerful presence and story for sure. And I know we'll dive into some of that, but she is a millionairess. I don't know if that's how you say it, but she has built multiple million-dollar businesses and has such a shrewd, that's that sexy, shrewd and sexy mind for business, but then also is highly sensitive and does the damn thing her own way. So like perfect fit for the Intuitive Empire. So welcome, Tiffany.
What's up, girl? I like this. Shrewd and sexy. I'm down with that.
Okay, cool. I was like, shrewd. I think that's it though. Like shrewd, we need to like actually Google the definition of shrewd.
I still like how it sounds.
I like it too. I mean, I think it means like no nonsense, kind of like straight to the point and getting it done.
Getting it done without force or pressure or pushing, because that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore. I don't recommend doing that the first way I did it for most of my career. It didn't end well for me.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you talk about being highly sensitive. Well, at least you talk about it to me. So, I mean, the number one issue I see with most highly sensitives is either that we completely hide and protect, or we push and do it, try and do it someone else's way. Because the way we want to do it is like, there's no model. Like we need to figure it out ourselves, right? So let's share a little bit about what that's looked like for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did exactly what you said. I would push, force, hustle, grind, then get exhausted, burnt out over it, then go into hiding.
Yes.
I mean, and that is literally what I taught people in my life, even clients. They'd go tips in hiding. In fact, the luxury condo I bought when I was like right before my 26th birthday, people referred to it as the cave because that's where I would go to hide. And now, of course, I didn't really like get any of this then. I laughed it off. I was like, this is just like, I guess, a personality quirk.
Yeah.
I didn't understand any of this. I didn't know any other way. It was modeled to me. I was raised by two entrepreneurs. My parents were divorced and I was 4. So I was raised by my mom, who is a workaholic. She's anorexic. And she's also, I mean, without me being a therapist, but I'm just being real here with you guys. I mean, she's a narcissist. So I was raised by a very unhealthy person, but who showed me, modeled, I mean, spoke it, said it. Her energy was all about it. We were like the second wealthiest family in an already wealthy neighborhood. So I was taught, in order to be successful, you have to hustle and grind 7 days a week, sacrifice, give an arm and a leg. It was not just modeled. It was also said to me about 1 million times over again. I started working at age 8 for her company. And it wasn't like light tasks, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm talking like 8-hour days. I mean, so this was all in my cells and everything. So I thought that's what you had to do. So the last thing I wanted to be, of course, was an entrepreneur. Ew, wasn't going to happen for me. So without going like too crazy deep into my whole story, you guys can learn, more listening to my podcast, Project Me with Tiffany Carter. I go more into it, but I started my career as a broadcast TV journalist. You want to talk about hustle and grind, man. The main thing that's said in the newsroom is if it bleeds, it leads. You get woken up at 3 a.m, there's a fire. You've got to fight for that lead story. I mean, I went right into what I was taught. Of course, that's what we do. I didn't know any better, but I would get sick all the time. Right? I mean, as my dear friend Tracy O'Malley always says, our bodies don't lie. Our bodies keep the score, right?
Yep.
So I'd get sick all the time. So then my story became I just have a low immune system because I wasn't breastfed.
Right.
I mean, no one ever told me that. I just like came up with that. It's so funny, the lies we tell ourselves. Then I was in corporate America in pharmaceutical sales after that, right? When you're in corporate sales and more, right? More hustle, grind, hustle, grind. Very successful in that industry. Was I happy? No, but very successful. So then again, self-fulfilling prophecy. Tiffany, in order to be massively successful, you have to hustle, push, grind, work your ass off, be exhausted. This is what it takes. And so therefore I kept creating subconsciously situations that showed that to me, right? Until I just couldn't do it anymore. I hit that glass ceiling a million times. And what woke me up is when I was 30, I had emergency spine surgery because I was an over-exerciser. I'm sure we're not shocked by that, right? Everything I did was extreme. It's a form of self-abuse. It's actually an eating disorder. And I went in, I went into some kickboxing class, didn't warm up because warming up didn't burn calories, and had emergency spine surgery. I was forced to lay on my back, do nothing. I mean, I could lay on my back. I wasn't even allowed to sit. Lay on my back for 6 weeks. And that's when I came up with what I truly wanted to do when I got, those, as we call them, like the divine downloads from when I was finally still for the first time in my life. I had to have forced stillness upon me because I would have never done it. And being sick didn't cut it, because when you're sick, what are you forced down with? I mean, unless God forbid you have cancer or something like that. But like if you have a sinus infection, what is it, 5 days? That wasn't going to be enough. So God, my higher power was like, no, we need to knock this girl down. And that's when I came up with, I've had that name for Project Me with Tiffany Carter for that long. And you guys, it took me another 10 years before I had the balls to even start that.
So what was that download? What came through for you?
What came through for me, and it wasn't pretty, you guys, like, that's why I avoided the stillness. Yeah. Because there was part of me that knew what was going to come up was going to be hard for me to hear. Yeah. So that's why I had a never-ending task list. I never let myself have any downtime, whether I use TV, I use dating, I would occupy myself with people, places, things. And the download was, Tiffany, you are a special spirit. I'm going to start to cry. You are a special spirit, and you are brought here, and you went through everything you went through in order to grab the hands of those who are not yet there and to show them an easier and gentle way. And you need to stop. And it wasn't like I got the message one day in bed. Every day it came up at some point during the day, whether it was upon waking, whether it was at 9 at night, it kept coming because, my higher power knew if that message came even once or twice, I would have said, oh, it must be the pain meds. I would have come up with something in resistance to it. It was undeniable. And so I knew I had to listen, but isn't it funny? I still didn't listen right away. It never left my mind. Every single day I thought about it all these years, but I wasn't ready because I wasn't being truly me. I knew that. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to remove those masks, but I knew they were there. Yeah. And I always tell people, they're like, how can you tell if you have masks there? When it comes up often that you're afraid to be found out or like you're a fraud, that's a really big indicator that you have a lot of masks going on. And that doesn't mean you're a horrible fake person or you're a sociopath or something like that. It can for some people. I didn't know any better. It wasn't safe to be me. I grew up in a very abusive house. Like, me was not celebrated. So I became whatever my mom wanted me to be, because me being little Tiffy, that wasn't going to cut it. That got me abused. Right? Yeah.
So much to undo. So after that hospital experience and this repeated message coming through, what came after that? what did you start to do to integrate or be with it?
I knew I needed to start my own company because I was still in corporate America at this point, which in turn was a blessing because in the state of California, you get paid disability leave, right? When you're an entrepreneur, and you don't get that unless, of course, you've created, passive income for yourself. And so I knew I needed to start my own business. I wasn't ready to start my personal brand, Project Me with Tiffany Carter. I wasn't. I just knew I wasn't. And the universe knew I wasn't. I had things to learn first. So things and timing are all happen for a reason. So I started a business more in my wheelhouse of expertise, right? Which was in the pharmaceutical and medical supplement world. I always got asked advice on marketing and sales in that world anyway. So I started a company targeting that niche, which I still have to this day. This is a 7-figure year business. I mean, I'm very grateful for it. I'm amazing at it. It is my zone of excellence, but it's not my zone of genius. And what that taught me is I learned digital marketing. I learned all the skills that I needed to create my personal brand. So I started Facebook ads when Facebook ads first came out, right? So I've learned with other people's money. So then when I was ready to start Project Me, which is only a year old, that's why I have grossed $250,000 in a year.
Right.
Because, I could sit here and say, oh, I made $250,000 in a year, but you have to remember I had 10 years of experience leading up to that. Right.
Because there's so many intricacies and really around mindset too, which I know that you really specialize in around making money. But as you step into being more authentic, then sometimes the resistance becomes more to try to protect you. And money is such a validating resource, right? So it's like to actually make money sharing your gifts, I think is so complex for some people. And it sounds like you had that practice, but that you didn't do it right away. And I think that's really important to recognize. Like you didn't step right into, okay, now I'm Project Me with Tiffany and I'm like, that's me and I'm fully in charge of this and owning it, because maybe there was things you needed to master first.
Oh, there were many things I needed to master first. Many things. In order for me to show up as truly me and be able to teach what I teach in terms of that money mindset stuff, I've gone through all that. Like I've gone through being stuck at 6 figures and not being able to get beyond that part. I've self-sabotaged myself. I've done it all.
Yeah.
And so I was able to take all of that amazing cumulative experience over 11 years and be able to then teach all of you that in a way that makes sense, that's easy, and also like have fun. Like we've kind of lost a lot of that. Like we can have fun learning all this stuff, right? It's not really that serious.
Right. I know, but it feels so serious. So what do you feel like are you open to moving into some of this like knowledge you have around money mindset and making it easier?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like you said, like money is such a powerful energy and currency. Yeah. And so many people, myself included, I always was afraid to step into owning things like, I like money. Money's great. I would have never said that most of my life because that was a selfish person. That's a narcissistic person. That's a greedy person, right? And so I know that when I talk about money, that definitely gets a lot of people's attention, and it touches on some inner wounds that need to be healed, right? And without doing this money mindset work, you guys, you can learn amazing, strategy from me on how to grow and scale your business, which I teach. But like I say with my students who I coach, I could sit here and do a whole business plan for you that's a 7-figure business plan. But if we don't work on your money mindset, you will sabotage it in a million different ways and you're not even aware of it.
Right.
It's just what happens.
So do you have like a formula or framework that you use? Like, how do you get someone started if they're in this place where maybe they've already been making money, but they feel that sabotage or they feel resistant to the next level?
I always start with a series of questions. I mean, obviously I can't go through all of them right now, but I'll give you guys a couple, to really take in. The first one would be, what was the general mood around like bill paying time or tax paying time, or there was like an unexpected bill, like a car expense or a roof leak when you were growing up? Like just the general vibe. Like what was the energy in the house? Was it heavy? Was it indifferent? Was it panicky? What was it? What was said around money when you wanted something? Whether you were a kid or a teenager, whether it was $5 or $20 or $200, what was said back to you and the people you surrounded yourself with for the most part? That would be the second thing. The third question I would have you guys take a look at is when, whether you grew up, in an affluent neighborhood or you grew up poor, whatever it is, when you would be with your parents or whoever your primary caregivers are, and you would see like the rich person in town, or someone would pull up in a really fancy car, or maybe they dropped you off for like a sleepover and it was like someone at a really big house, or maybe, they didn't have to work or something like that. What was said? What was said when they saw that? Was it like, oh, must be nice? Or was it, well, they just got lucky, or I bet they won the lotto, or what was said? And I'm sure some things are already coming up for you now. It's best to do this exercise, pen and paper. When we keep things in our heads, we can lie to ourselves and end up burying things under blankets. So I always say this is a really good exercise, to do and write down. You will start seeing the parallels and drawing those lines from what came up with those answers of those questions from growing up to now. It's incredible how we recreate stuff.
So powerful. Totally. I can hear the answers to all those questions and see how much undoing has had to be done to then allow a new way of thinking and feeling about money to come through. So where do you feel like action fits in? So let me give you a scenario. Say somebody has done this work, or they're somewhat aware, but it's like, you still need to take the action, right? Like to create the new evidence and to create a new reality that says, well, I'm not an asshole and I have money. Oh, look, I just had that money just came in. That didn't feel whatever X, Y, and Z, right? So how do you personally balance the taking action, working through? Because I feel like sometimes when you're sensitive and you have a wealth of inner process, you have a lot of
That's a nice way of saying it.
Right? Wealthy with inner process. You, it's easy to get stuck actually in the mindset work. Oh yeah, well, but when do you just take the action and do the damn thing and see what happens?
I love that you asked this. It's so true. I mean, also, I'm a Virgo on top of being an HSP and an introvert. I'm an INFJ, by the way. So on top of all that, I have Virgo-ness, which is means I'm overthinker, overanalyzer. So I get what you're saying. I have the entire Barnes and Noble self-help spiritual section in my house.
Yes.
It can be safe to be a student, you know, so, and it feels good. It's safe studying mindset. You really like it, and you can tell yourself the lie, right? Of I'm really working on myself and improving myself because, it's true. You are. But it's so safe to be stuck in with a book or with your journal. What about taking that out into the real world? Because that's when you really get to practice it, is when you take those things you learn out into the real world, and then you need to put that into real practice. So that's so important. I tell people that I work with, or anyone who comes, into my DMs at Project Me with Tiffany on Instagram. That's the main place to reach out to me. I spend 2 hours every day in my DMs answering questions. It's one of my ways of, building a rapport with my audience, but also giving back, because I wish there was someone like me when I was at that stage, but there wasn't. I mean, there was Tony Robbins, but it's
You're not DMing him.
Right.
You're
It's
not
like,
getting an answer in DM.
right. It's like, yeah, there was Oprah. It's like, yeah, I don't, yeah. It's like hitting, like, let's hit up Oprah on Facebook and
Yeah.
see what happens. Right.
Let's ask her about money mindset. I'd be super curious.
So I like telling people you've got to get to your own fuck it place.
Mm.
Okay. And what I mean by that is you have to, I can't make you get there. I can help guide you to there. But where you get to a point where you say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to try it. Regret feels worse than me, falling on my ass a few times. Fuck it. I'm just going to experiment. I'm just going to go for it. What's the worst that can really happen, you guys? I mean, really, it's the worst that can happen. Maybe you feel a little silly. Maybe your ego's bruised. Maybe you pushed a little too hard and you got sick. That can happen. Maybe you get overwhelmed, but all those things are how you're practicing all this mindset stuff. Because then you go, okay, now I'm learning what works for me and what doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I call it experimenting. Otherwise, how would you know? You're kind of just guessing then.
Right. No, it's totally true. So what about so taking action obviously is an important part of this. And then you're experimenting and you're like, well, and even when I was on your podcast and I talked about how it was hindsight that told me I was in scarcity, right? I had to go through that experience of attracting women who weren't really aligned and ready for the work and ultimately then didn't pay. But it's like I couldn't have known that in the moment. Maybe I will next time.
Maybe.
And so, right? That's hopefully. Hopefully so. But I feel like there's a special thing that happens as you step into your true aligned purpose. And that it becomes even scarier, that vulnerability piece to say like, okay, well, when I'm in my zone of excellence, I can have the $1 million business or even just the thriving, whatever that looks like to you business. But, this is actually the thing that I've been hiding from everybody forever. And now I want to monetize it because that's what my gifts are here for, to help people at a huge level. But that feels different. So like, what about when there's like these nuances like that?
Oh my God, girl. This is perfect for you guys to hear this. This is exactly why it took me 10 years. I was terrified. Even when truly, if we go back, I was ready 2 years sooner than when I started, but I was terrified. It's a personal brand. My name is on it. My other company is TLC Enterprises. Now TLC are my initials. Isn't that ironic? For about 1,000 reasons.
Yeah.
But that if I failed or made a mistake or something didn't go well with something that I cared about, but wasn't, attached to my soul and my purpose, it would suck, but it wouldn't take me down. So I use a lot of analogies to teach. So it's kind of like falling in love. If you don't allow yourself or do that work to be open enough to fall in love, you don't then get the gifts of falling in love. But there is a risk of falling in love. You can get really fucking hurt when you go all in. That's why there's so many people who are emotionally unavailable who won't go all in because they don't want to get hurt. It's very similar when it's a business and it's a business that's from your heart and your soul. So I was scared of all of it, scared of the success. I knew I'd be successful very quickly because I had so much experience in digital marketing, in sales, in entrepreneurship. So I already knew it was going to be a fast trajectory in that way. But I was also just, God, if this doesn't work, and this is like the message I've gotten, and I've gotten it every day for 10 years, and it doesn't work, then I'll just die. I'm not kidding you. That's what I thought. Like, then what's my purpose here?
I know.
I piled on the pressure to myself versus leaning in and surrendering and trusting to the universe that I wouldn't have been getting these messages all these years if this wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And if it wasn't going to be successful. I was scared for that very reason, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
But I had to get to my own personal fuck it point. You guys, crazy stuff will come up in our heads. Okay. I'll give you an example. I remember it like it was yesterday because it was only a year ago I started. I mean, it's insane, but I first came up with an excuse that I can't start Project Me with Tiffany Carter because I needed the top of the line iMac, which is $5,500. And by the way, I have two. Yeah, I have 2 MacBooks. I have like a million iPads. Like I already have another business. Like we have lots of computers here. But I really convinced myself of this. Like even with all this mindset work, and I knew it was kind of whack, but I went with it. I bought it. I'm looking at it right now. I've used it twice. It looks very fancy in my office. I mean, it's nice, whatever. I've used it twice. Thank you. If you want to buy it, let me know.
I'll give you $200.
I mean, good Lord. The other one was because I'm still in recovery for it, but I'm a lot better. I have adrenal insufficiency, which you guys have probably heard it as adrenal fatigue. But I had it to a level where it was like I was going to die because if you don't produce cortisol, you will die. Like I was going to have to wear a bracelet and carry the injection pen of cortisol. So I was at one of the side effects of having that is you end up gaining a lot of weight. So I was at my heaviest I'd ever been in my life. So then that became a thing. I can't show up online when I'm not my best self, in the best health, at my best weight. I can't show up. So then that became a thing. So I had to get to my own level of, if not now, when? Right. Tiffany. If not now, when? And what really helped me, I don't know if it was a friend of mine who said it. It might have been my coach who said it. So I'll give it to my coach because likely it was him. He said, in 10 years from now, or even if when you're 80 and you're like chilling in a rocking chair or whatever you're doing, would you regret not just trying this, just giving it a solid try? Would you regret it? And I go, oh God, yes. And he's like, well, now you have your answer. It's that simple. You got to do it. And I did it the very next day.
Wow. That's the fuck it moment.
Yep. I said, you know what? Fuck it. And if people don't like me because they think I'm fat, fuck it. If people, if I don't have the energy, because that's another symptom is you have very limited energy. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so I only have 2 hours of energy a day. Okay. Well, I can give it 2 hours. 2 hours is better than none. Yeah. Right. So baby steps. I mean, that's how I grew my other business. It's not like I started making $1 million after 1 year in my other business. It was through consistent baby steps. I had to get to my own fuck it point.
I love that. So just the question, like, would you regret it? So I feel like we can look at that right now for so many situations. It's like, what is that next step? I spoke at an event yesterday and I went through an exercise of really diving into, well, what is the big dream? I like to call it the zoom in, zoom out, like having that strong muscle to zoom out to your big dreams. What do they look like? And then the zoom in, well, what is the step? Like, what is the actual first step to this? And then what is the resistance to that, or the voice or the fear? And it was so incredibly powerful. And I feel like this question would have been really beautiful in that, but we could do that right now, right? It's like, what are we going towards? What is the big dream? What are we being called forward into? And then what could we do right now to support that? And if you don't do that, will you feel regretful? Like, will you regret it? And yes, of course you will.
Yeah. Immediately, like you're listening right now, immediately. If it's not a hell yes, and it's a hell no. So immediately, whether it's a book, whether it's a clothing line, whether it's a crystal store, whatever your jam is, right away. But that doesn't mean, then most of us who are highly sensitive, the empaths of us, the introverts of us, at least I did. I went into that panic mode, right? Okay, so now I'm at my phone.
Well, now I'm late.
Now I'm late. I should have started 5 years ago. Now I got to do all the things. Now I've got to do this. Now I have to have a funnel, and now I have to grow a following, and now I have to do content. Now I have to have an email list. And then I start noticing all this stuff online because, you see what you're looking for always, right? Yeah. So now I'm seeing like all these people like bombarding me with like courses, and you need to do this. And I was like, this, I go, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, ew, it doesn't feel good. Like, I don't want to have to do this if this is what it means. But then here's the question. that I always ask myself, and I'm going to have you guys ask yourselves is that absolutely true with 100% certainty for a fact for now and forever? And then you can fill in the blank of what you're telling yourself. So in my case, it was Tiffany. Is it with 100% certainty for a fact now and forever that you are going to have to do all these crazy things and be a spaz and work your ass to the bone in order to make Project Me with Tiffany Carter a success? No.
Right.
No one told me that. I made it up.
Right. Oh my
And it's
goodness.
like, right? So this is what stops me when I have a thought that doesn't feel good. I ask myself that question because it's usually some crazy crap that we make up. I mean, our brains are so interesting.
Oh my goodness. It's so true. I love that question. It's like, is it true?
Right. And is it true for absolute certainty as a fact? Because some things are true right now because people will say it. People love challenging me, which is great. It's fine with me. But they'll go, well, Tiffany, I am in debt right now. Like that is true. Right. And I said, but is it for a fact you will be in debt forever? Yeah. Is that a fact? Well, no, I don't know that to be a fact. Okay. Well, there you go. Stop operating like that's going to be a fact forever. It might be a fact at, 2:00 today. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's going to be a fact even a month from now, right?
Right. You never know. I love that. And so do you do that mainly just to open up that there is another way or something else can come through?
Yes, because what I believe works in all my years and the thousands of people I've coached in mindset from people all over the world, men, women, executives, solo entrepreneurs, you name it. Okay. Extroverts, introverts. The thing is, when it comes to mindset that works is what stops our brain, what kind of shocks it are facts and stats. Because now our brain can't go, oh, we can't massage it. Yeah. Right? It's like, no, this is a fact. Okay. This is a fact. Or you ask a question that creates a fact. It stops you in your tracks. What's hard for people is when they see a lot of stuff, especially online or even in a lot of books where it's like, you just need to reframe your thinking. And someone sitting there who's in debt or isn't, barely living paycheck to paycheck. And you're supposed to say, I am a wealth magnet. I am a millionaire. And you're like, girl,
that's not true.
Right? It's not true. And I understand psychologically what people are doing who say that, but there's a few steps in my opinion that are missing because there's going to be immediate resistance with our brains on that. Yeah. And when we have that much resistance, it's not going to work.
No, totally.
It's not going to work. There's a few other steps. And that's why I go down to that fact is, okay, you are living paycheck to paycheck today. That's true. But do you know that this is going to be true for a fact for you to be living paycheck to paycheck 6 months from now? Mm-hmm. You do not know that as a fact.
Right.
Right?
I love it.
So let's start there.
Right. So what else is possible?
Something else is possible. Right? What's possible? I mean, a lot can happen even in 3 months.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, it's like, if we just open up, I've used this technique so many times without naming it what you're naming it or, with the exact same question, but it's just instead of it can't, it's how can. I mean, just even that simply put, how can it happen or reframing. Something I like to do, I wonder if you've ever done this before, but I was doing somebody's money mindset thing and it was basically identify all the beliefs, and I do think that's really important. But I took it one step further and it was actually because I was dealing with my husband and he started basically campaigning for his beliefs. So he had this belief and he'd be fine if I talk about it. So he had this belief that you had to work hard for money because he always saw, because he grew up in Pittsburgh and it's the blue collar and they fucking worked hard. Right. And so I was like, okay, so is that true? And then he started giving me all this evidence of it was true. And
sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he has a lifetime of building a file of evidence for that belief, right?
And then I was getting so frustrated because we were supposed to be doing this together. And I'm like, well, I want to do my own. I don't want to be coaching you through. If you can't identify that that's not it doesn't have to be true. Like, sure, it was true, And so I just ended up getting frustrated with him. And then I sat down and I was like, let me just put a question mark at the end of this. So like, okay, so when making money is hard, right? Making money is hard. And so I just gave that to him. It was my way of just like condensing it down. I was just like, just put a fucking question mark at the end of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I ended up putting that in my program around all these beliefs around being sensitive and showing up in the world in your gifts. And what does it all mean? And it's like, well, just put a fucking question mark on it because you're gonna get a new answer.
Absolutely. I mean, I go down the path of this thing with energy because of the adrenal insufficiency. And those of us who are HSPs and empaths, we have a different type of energy to play with, right? Yes. And I like saying it that way. But the truth is, if we're gonna bring it down, we do get worn out and a little tired more easily than someone who's not, because we take so much in. And so my brain started, and it's like, you're not going to be able to really grow Project Me with Tiffany to multiple 7 figures like these other people you see online that have had these online brands for years who are doing it because they're extroverts and they're spazzes. And you see how, I mean, I can tell how much, well, first off, I know a lot of them now, and I know how much a lot of them are working. And I had to remind myself, they're the old Tiffany. I don't want that for them. I don't want them to be like a freight train crashing into a wall, but that's their own journey. But I see it about to happen, right? Because no one can sustain that. I mean, even if you're using street drugs, which by the way, I did that too, to keep myself going.
Right.
I use like things like Adderall and stuff like that to keep going because I thought that's what you needed to have. Is that true? Do you need to be an extrovert? Do you need to have this amazing, be one of those unicorn people who has 10 hours of pure, vibrant energy every day?
Right.
If you did, I'd be living in a tent if that was true.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's like, it is possible. And I feel like just you talking about that and also showing up as a powerhouse. Like I got this actually when I was thinking about our conversation we were going to have today earlier, I had this sensitive powerhouse come in for some reason. I was like, sensitive powerhouse, because I feel like even when we met in person, I would not have known that you were highly sensitive till I got off stage and you were like, I'm highly sensitive too. I love what you said or whatever. Right. And so I feel like there is this black and white, like, can I be a powerhouse? But the truth is you're actually set up to be a powerhouse when you're highly sensitive, because you have been picking up the pieces for other people forever. First of all, you've been taking way too much shit on that is not yours forever. And you're really fucking strong. And the thing I know about highly sensitives are that we are almost always the strongest person in the room. Almost always the person who everyone would come to, who will rely on. And it's like these characteristics are really, really helpful in business.
Oh, yeah. And when I finally learned to not overachieve for the underachievers in my life and in my business, it's amazing how much more energy I found.
Right. Yeah. So like what you're holding on to and is being carried with you. Like super simple way to put it, but it's like it's in the backpack, like the life backpack. And I certainly deal with that all the time as well. And it's a big reason I stayed small for so long, because I was so afraid to take any more on.
I can completely relate to that. Yeah.
So I guess I'm curious for you, and then we'll probably wrap it up and tell everybody where they can find you and share all that good stuff. Is just like, for you, the emotional part, like, do you link it with money? And so since you like focus on money and money mindset, I know that a lot of sensitive have this belief, like, okay, if I'm afraid to take more on because everybody needs me all the time anyway, and already, then like, does money equal that too? Like, does when I make more money mean more responsibility? Does it mean more people needing me? Does it mean more weight on my shoulders?
Oh, I love this question. No, as long as you're identifying how you want to make your money and learn how to do that. So that's why I'm so passionate about teaching people how to create passive income streams into their lives, into their business that makes sense with your passions, makes sense with your brand and your lifestyle. Because I make 70% of my income is passive, meaning Tiffany doesn't have to do more work to make that money. I'm making that when I'm at yoga. I'm making it when I'm sleeping. That doesn't mean there isn't effort involved, but it's money that makes money off money off money. And that's where we train our mindsets. It's amazing when I start teaching people, like in my Project Me Passive Income Posse, I teach people how to do this. And even when they wake up and they like made $10, because, you know, when you start, you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, I made $10 when I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
It shifts your mindset
like,
into showing you what's possible.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this feels really good. Then money starts feeling good. Then because you're in that vibration when it comes with money, it creates more money and more money and more money. And it becomes this amazing feeling. It takes that work part out of it. Guess what? We get to make a shitload of money and not have to be like involved and like clawing at the walls in order to get it.
That's amazing. So you feel like that really is a big answer for people. So for my listeners who are maybe starting to build a business or even just getting into a passion or purpose, the idea that it could be a profitable business, do you just recommend that to everybody? Like, do you think that that's something everybody should or could have in their business?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you want to create true wealth and not just get rich, but wealth, meaning you have time and freedom and you get to choose what you want to do. You're not like having to have clients, having to do this for money. You get to choose what you want to do. You have to start building multiple income streams. And you can start it with zero. You can start it from nothing, from $0. You can start it with having a little more money if you want, but you have to start it. So like I said, like what ends up being what ends up being $10 a week turns into $100 a week, turns into $500 a week. And this can happen very realistically in a year's time. It's not like this is totally off the wall.
Right.
But it does take time. It does take time, right? I've been doing this for many years. So over time, that money makes money. Then that money makes money. And over time, now 70% of my income, I could quit everything right now, everything, and live off that. And that's what makes me show up with how I show up today, because it's a choice. It's a true choice.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I
so
mean
powerful.
by like financial freedom. I created for you guys, by the way, 5 steps to creating financial freedom, ways that you can start doing this immediately, like what we just talked about. So you can just go to my website, projectmewithtiffany.com, and it's right there.
Okay.
So this is a great way just for you guys to just start thinking about it. You don't have to, please no need to stress about it. It's more of like, think about it and get your creative juices going around it.
Yeah. So is it Tiffany 2 F's and 1 N?
Yeah, it's Tiffany, like the jewelry store Tiffany. So not like stripper Tiffany.
So projectmewithtiffany.com.
Yeah.
And I'll link it below as well. So you guys, if you're in the show notes, grab that up. That sounds amazing. And I'm so grateful that we met. I feel like we have so much in common, but also kind of like a yin and yang type energy happening. Don't you think?
Yeah. Your Sagittarius like energy is so good for me, but it's really good example for you guys to see. We're both empaths, we're both introverts, we're both highly sensitive, yet how different we are from one another, right? Yeah. There's a spectrum. It's not black or white, like you said.
No, it's so true. And it's like when you're just more you, then it's more contagious, right? And I just want to touch on one thing you said about it being a choice. This is the actual exercise that I've used for myself when I was showing up for my first Embody launch, where I had like no actual proof that any of it was going to work. No actual results had been created yet. And I was like, what if I just woke up today and thought, I have more than enough money today and forever. I have more than enough money today and forever.
And you do.
And I always have, that's always been true. I could have said that 10 years ago. I could have said it 5 years ago. And so even if I don't know what's going to happen with this launch or with this new brand that I'm putting out, all of these questions, what is the energy I would show up in? And it was so incredibly magical. I felt so different. So like you really are walking that, like what a beautiful example, but you don't have to actually have it be your reality for you to be in that reality.
No, I mean, I used to make $17,000 a year and eat top ramen every night. I mean, and I was on live TV, by the way. Thank you. NBC, CBS, CNN for how you pay. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, last month, I lost $100,000 in some investments. That's a lot of freaking money, you guys.
Right.
But I showed up the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely agree with you. That doesn't mean I don't have down days. Believe me, when I read that statement, Mama wasn't happy about it.
Yeah.
Right. But I showed up in knowing that I will always have more than enough money for whatever I desire. And I really believe that. It's not like some, saying I write on my wall and I'm trying to believe it. I really believe that. And truly, I believed that when I made $17,000 a year because I had a roof over my head. I had my multi-packets of top ramen. Right. I had, my drugstore makeup. I mean, I really did. I paid my bills. I did my own nails, I plucked my own brows, which that's a whole nother story.
Okay. I do both of those things right now. And I don't even usually wear nail polish.
Oh my God, you look like you have gel nails.
Well, that's because I don't wear nail polish. Because I had an event. I know I had a photo shoot. No, a video shoot. A video shoot. And we were like filming me like on my doing stuff.
You're like, I better make sure.
I was like, I had it with me in my bag. I was like, let me get this on. But yeah, I don't do my nails. I cut them short because I just can't handle like going and sitting and getting them done. It's like not my thing whatsoever.
I love you.
But I have nice ass makeup. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we really are when we really think about it, even if you're in debt, even if you're, making like I was making $17,000 a year, my guess is if you're able to listen to a podcast right now, you're not destitute.
Right. No. And it's like, just being in that energy. I love that you say that you were already in that energy. I feel like that's the perfect sort of segue into moving on and letting our listeners be free, but also to check out, you guys don't be too free because I want you to check out Tiffany's podcast. So it's Project Me with Tiffany. No, is that the name of the podcast too?
It's Project Me, one word with Tiffany Carter, and it's on all the things.
Yeah.
You can Google it and it comes right up.
And I'll share it with you guys because she has interviewed me and I'll be on hers too. So that'll be so good. And you guys definitely check out if you're like, well, I want to know more about passive income. I need to expand my money mindset. I just like feeling Tiffany's story and her vibe, like 100%. Follow her on Instagram. Check out, she has a membership too, which the membership is at the Posse.
Yeah, that's where I teach you how to build passive income streams into your life and business based on what you're truly passionate about, right? Because everyone's different. There's not one way, which is great. There is not one way to make cash, you guys. There's about 1 million ways.
Right. So I love this. So check that out too. And then of course, screenshot this and tag us both after you've followed her because we'll throw you into our stories, and then DM us if you have any questions or want to just follow up on anything we talked about. Does that sound good?
God, I would love that. Yeah. Reach out and say hi, you guys, at Project Me with Tiffany on Instagram. I love when I get DMs from listeners or questions, and no question is like too weird or simple for me. It's not like you have to ask, like some people get nervous to ask a question because they think it needs to be profound or they're bothering us. It's like, actually, you get the best answers with the most simple questions.
No, it's so true. I love simple questions. I'm not psychic. I can't figure out what you meant. Like, just ask it. Okay, so good. Yay. Thanks for gracing us with your beautiful presence.
Oh my God, I loved being on your show. Thanks for having me, girl.
You're welcome. Okay, y'all. See you next time on the Intuitive Empire podcast.